Thank you for joining me for the Pinebrook Market Update. I'm Ron Wilstein, a broker at Keller Williams Luxury Properties here in Park City, Utah. We're going to look at what's been happening in the Pinebrook real estate market. I want to begin by sharing with you an overview of what's been happening in Park City in terms of sales of homes, condos, and lots. So let's begin by looking at the number of transactions. Over the last 12 months, there's been 1,278 sales in Park City. This consists of homes, condominiums, and vacant land, and that's down by 183 sales compared to the same period the year before, a 13% decline. This graph here breaks it up into homes, condos, and lots, and we see that the red bar represents the period of time from October 2015 through September 2016. There was a drop by 5% in home sales from 531 sales to 506 sales overall in Park City. Condos saw the greatest decline, from a 17% drop from 734 sales down to 606. And then lots had a decline of 15% from 196 sales to 166 sales, 30 fewer lot sales. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But everybody wants to know about prices. So what's been happening with our prices with the decline of sales? Well, they've actually been going up. Here we're looking at medium home sold prices for that same time period, October 2015 through September 2016. The red bars represent that time period. The silver represents the 12 months before that. Inside the city limits, when it comes to homes, the increase is 18% appreciation. Median price rose from $1,350,000 all the way to $1,594,500. That's huge. In the Snyderville Basin, where of course Pinebrook is located, we saw a 12% increase from $862,500 all the way to $962,500. Entire $100,000 increase year over year. Here we're looking at condominiums, and in the city limits, as well as in the Snyderville Basin, we see a 16% appreciation. So again, double digits. In the city, the values rose to $630,000 from $545,000 the year before, and in the Snyderville Basin, condos rose from $387,500 all the way to $450,000. So very healthy increases in property values. Here we're looking at lots, and this is the first place we see an actual decline in the price appreciation in the Park City limits. Prices dropped 10% from $676,185 all the way to $610,000. Now keep in mind there were 21 sales of lots within the city limits over the last year. So the sampling is very small, and you could easily have a situation where the previous year there was some extraordinary lots with great views, wonderful locations, and maybe in the last 12 months, great lots, but not exactly that high quality. That could account for the 10% difference right there. It certainly doesn't mean that there's a lack of interest in lots in the city limits. There's a lack of inventory available. That's true. In the Snyderville Basin, where there's a larger inventory of lot sales, we saw an increase 32%, with the medium lot sold price rising from $340,000 all the way to $450,000. All right, so now let's turn our attention to Pinebrook. That's probably why you're really listening here. Home sales in Pinebrook are down by 9%, and that means they dropped from 47 to 43. There's 4 fewer sales year over year. It's a 9% decline. Whenever we're looking at rate of sales, we always want to consider absorption rate. Now, what absorption rate is based upon the current inventory of properties, let's say homes in Pinebrook. We try to evaluate how quickly they sell based upon home sales in Pinebrook over the past 12 months. Now we have an exceptionally great absorption rate. Home sales selling at a pace of 1 sale every 8 days. That's amazing. That's very, very low. There's currently 18 homes on the market in Pinebrook, which equates to a 5-month inventory. Now the National Association of Realtors says that a balanced market, an equal number of buyers and sellers, is about a 6-month inventory, and in resort towns like Park City, a 9-month inventory represents a balanced market. So when we have a 5-month inventory in Pinebrook, it certainly is favoring the sellers, and short time on the market, fast paced, that also is favoring sellers. Price ranges of homes have varied quite a range here, from 518,000 on the low end all the way to 1,950,000 on the high end, with the medium sold price being 860,000, and that is a 12% increase over the previous year's values. Here you see it rose from 770,000 all the way to 860,000. So good, strong price appreciation in Pinebrook. Now let's turn our attention to lots. Fewer lot sales, but lot sales down 64% statistically. What that means is previous year there were 11 lot sales. This past 12-month period, only 4, 1 a quarter. So that's a big slowdown. I think prices rose quite a bit, and that resulted in buyers being a little more hesitant to purchase a lot in Pinebrook. Pinebrook's lots are selling at a pace, one every 91 days, and there are currently 10 lots on the market, which equates to a 30-month inventory. So quite a big inventory there in Pinebrook in the home site market. Prices of these lots have ranged anywhere from $144,500 up to $192,000, with the medium sold price being $180,000, a decrease of 20% over the previous year's values. But again, we're looking at so few lot sales, I don't want you to make a big deal out of that. It did drop median price from $225,000 to $180,000, but we only had 4 lot sales, so based compared to 11 the year before. So that you have to take that into account. Now I want to tell you how you can get information on the Pinebrook market anytime you want. And all you have to do is go to my website, BuyParkCity.com/Pinebrook, and you will come to a page in there dedicated to the Pinebrook neighborhood. Let me just show it to you real quickly here. And here we are. Let me go to the top. We're looking at Pinebrook real estate on BuyParkCityRealEstate.com. When you scroll down a bit, you come to these 4 buttons here. The green button here on the top left says watch a webinar for an update on the Pinebrook real estate. In effect, that's what you're doing by watching this one. The blue button here represents an invitation to send me a current sales data on the Pinebrook area. This is the one that you would click. You'd hover over it, it changes colors. You click on it and it takes you to a page that says current sales data request, and you simply fill out the blanks there. It would take you less than a minute. In the comment box, say, please send me the sales data on your webinar in Pinebrook, or whatever information you're interested in, and then click the green button. That will send an email to me, and I will promptly get back to you on that and send you the specifics of the properties, homes, or lots that make up the information that I summarized here. And keep in mind, it will show you pictures of the homes, all the specific details, and if you're trying to make a comparison, it's a great way to get that. And it's no cost, no obligation, so feel free to check that out. Let me wrap up by talking about our marketplace, because the Park City real estate market is definitely going through a change here, and we need to talk about this. It's changing in that it's moving from a limited supply, double-digit price appreciation market, as we've been reporting on both in this webinar and in our monthly webinars, to a frequently overpriced market with buyers choosing not to pay the next record high sale price. Well, here's what buyers are looking at. They're looking at an increase in valuation. They're looking at double digits. It's exciting, but at the same time, they wonder how long it will last. They fear that values may start to drop, and perhaps we've hit the top of the marketplace. 6 months, maybe they buy a property and it drops in value. Of course, nobody wants to do that. So they naturally have a bit of hesitation and reluctance, and that's what's feeding into the slowdown of property purchases, whether homes or lots, or condominiums for that matter. A little bit of hesitation, reluctance, because of the prices have climbed so much. Now, this market sentiment has been created by 2 things. Number one, national news is anticipating a real estate slowdown. We see a lot of headlines out there. Aspen real estate in a first ever sustained nosedive. Well, that doesn't help. Here's another one. Faltering economy brings real estate market down. This is the luxury market. Here's another headline. Summer slowdown seen in Manhattan's luxury real estate market. Even Los Angeles. Overpriced homes may be slowing down LA's market. So when you see all these national headlines, and our buyers are from all over the country, it's very easy for them to say, gee, I just think Park City's maybe near the top, a little reluctant to pay these high prices. That's what we're encountering. The other sentiment that's kind of creating this resistance, if you will, is the buyer's belief, as I've said, that prices can't keep going up at the pace that they have in recent years. The values have definitely gone up. What we reported it earlier in this webinar and in our other webinars are true. Home and medium sold prices are climbing, double-digit climbing. How long? That's the big question. So property owners who want to sell their property need to, today's market, not be as aggressive as they have been in the past. Maybe greedy is even the word here when it comes to pricing your property to sell. And once sellers start negotiating with interested parties, they need to consider if they don't put a deal together with this particular buyer, they may not see an offer for a while. After all, there's fewer sales. They could be looking at lower prices in the future. So they just need to think about that. It has to be a consideration when you're negotiating in today's market. The third thing it means is that it's important to carefully consider a total market overview, what I call a TMO analysis, and price your property reasonably based upon looking at what the analysis says. Now, the typical realtor in Park City prepares what's called a CMA, or a comparative market analysis. They look at data, sales data in their neighborhood, let's say Pinebrook as an example, draw conclusions over the last 6 months or year, what sold, what hasn't sold, why has it sold, and they try to price your property that way. And while that is pertinent and very pertinent for your specific neighborhood, it isn't really how buyers do it. Buyers, unless they're only going to consider properties in Pinebrook, are going to consider other nearby neighborhoods. They might consider Jeremy Ranch across the highway. They may go into Ranch Place or Silver Springs or Park Meadows or Mahogany Hills. There's any number of different property areas they might consider. So it's important that you take an overview of the total market, these other geographical areas, consider what that data tells you, because frankly it's more valuable from a seller's point of view to see how buyers are really responding, and then make decisions accordingly when it comes to reasonably pricing your property to sell. Third thing it means is negotiate the highest and best price you can, and then be content with that price. There's a tendency when the market has been going so red hot and it backs off a little bit to be disappointed that you missed out. Not really the case. No single sale is going to change your life. Be content with your price. Get the highest price you can, but don't price so high that you infringe upon your ability to sell your property. With that in mind, I just want to wrap up by talking about the 10% pricing rule. This is a guideline that I came up with a number of years ago, and it simply says an acceptable list price is up to 10% above the fair market value for your property. So once you do the analysis, once you factor in the total market overview, you then determine the fair market value of your property. And if you want to price higher to have room for negotiation and to get top dollar, don't go higher than 10%. An unacceptable list price is more than 10% above that fair market value. And when people price it there, they're not selling their properties. Let's look at it this way. If this orange line is fair market value, if you list your property at that fair market value, you're going to sell it quickly, probably in the first 3 months of being on the market. That may be exactly what you want. Having it sold is a great thing, and you might even encounter multiple offers, which sometimes drives the prices up. If you choose to list at 10% above fair market value, you may now be looking at 6 to 9 months to sell your property. That may be fine if that's within the time frame of what you want to accomplish. But if you want to sell it faster, not take as long to hopefully get a higher price, you might choose to list at 5% above the fair market value of the property, bringing the selling time down maybe to 3 to 6 months instead of 6 to 9 months at that 10% mark. You've got to decide what's applicable for you if you're going to sell your property. But what you don't want to do in today's market is list it above that 10% mark. Those properties rarely sell, and it's not what you want if you're trying to sell your property. So the market is changing. You need to keep that in mind. And if you're a seller, it's time to adapt to this change because this represents the future of Park City real estate. So what do you need to do? Well, you don't want to sell your property for any less than you should get in today's market. That's obvious, and that's, of course, what you want, the highest possible reasonable price. But when it comes to listing your price for your home, beware of asking too much and sabotaging your ability to sell it at all. And so that you need to give careful consideration to it. Every single day I receive, along with the rest of the brokers in Park City, emails from other agents and brokers, and they basically look like this. In fact, these are actual emails. Great price reduction, now $997,000. Reminds agents about the property. And in the portion I highlighted that you probably can't see, what you're not seeing is that this is a $52,000 price reduction. Okay, they priced it too high. Don't know whether the seller insisted on a higher price or if the agent did in order to get the listing, or whatever reason it was too high. They're not successful at selling their property. Here's another email alert. Sellers say bring all reasonable offers. Again, they've dropped the price. Over the life of this listing, they have dropped the price multiple times to a tune of $195,000 price reduction. Yes, it's over $2 million of the list price initially, but they priced it too high. Here's one, $50,000 price drop for Labor Day. This one came out right before Labor Day. And again, it's a little over a $50,000 price reduction. So just don't want to do that. You go too high, you're just hurting yourself from a pricing point of view. I've got a webinar that I talk about this pricing, the 10% rule in greater detail. You can check it out by going to BuyParkCityRealEstate.com/price right. Goes into greater detail than what I've covered here, and you might find it interesting if you think of selling your property. If you want our input, we're happy to come out and visit you at your property, take a look at it. Just give us a call. We'll come out. We'll share with you the relevant data for your situation, your comparisons, and we're happy to help you out in any way that we can. Finally, I just want to conclude. If you want to learn how much your Pinebrook home is worth in today's market, simple. Go to BuyParkCityRealEstate.com. On the home page, scroll down to the learn what your property is worth and complete the form there, or just send an email to either Doug or myself. Let me just show you the website again real quick. Here's the home page, BuyParkCityRealEstate.com. Scroll down past your Start the Park City search, past the webinars and listed properties to learn what your property is worth. Again, less than a minute, no cost or obligation. Fill out the details. When you get to the very bottom here, where you have some choices, choose this first one that says contact me for a free property value assessment, and we will contact you and get you that information. And I just want to stress, don't need to be wanting to sell your property. You could be just curious. We're happy to provide you with this information. Have any questions? Email Doug Olmsted or myself, Ron at thewilsteinteam.com, Doug at thewilsteinteam.com. If you'd like a phone call from us, include your phone number, preferred time, we'll give you a call. I want to remind you, every single month we have our Market Talk webinar. About the middle of the month, we update it. We cover data overall about the marketplace, similar to what we covered at the beginning of this webinar, but in greater detail. Then we talk about relevant subject on everybody's mind. So check it out. Be informed about the Park City real estate market. So with that in mind, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this webinar. I hope you found it informative, and appreciate your time.